Well, welcome everybody to the Sports Wrap. George Ringer, you know us. We've been doing this for a while now, and well, here it is. We're a couple weeks into 2021, and we found out that the more things change, the more they stay the same in college football. Because, boy, I'll tell you, Alabama put a big snot bubble on old Ohio State. Although I will say this, Ohio State stuck in there longer than I thought they would.
They were trading touchdowns, and you know that was only gonna be able to go for so long, and Alabama has 7 All-Americans on that team. 7, Minnesota, they get one every 10 years, but they had 7, so it really was a remarkable team, and people are saying from A to B, it's probably the best team we've seen in quite a few years, and I've even heard this maybe ever.
It's possible, and we argued about this last week, George, or maybe I argued about it, and you sat there and let me banter. But
that's all right.
I told you that I didn't think DeVonta Smith should win the Heisman Trophy because.
How do you feel about that now?
Because he was the number 2 receiver on this team 2 months ago, and he won. How do I feel about that now? Well, he's pretty good. I don't know if I still agree that he's the best player. But having said that, if I remember right, did he get hurt on the punt return?
He did, and so he was off the second half, and he had already had 13 catches or 12 catches out of 13 for a whole bunch and 3.
Well, here's my point, George. Was Alabama watching the show last week? Because I complained that he didn't punt return or kick return, and there he was. There he was. No, I'll tell you, I'll say this: Ohio State had no answer for him, and you got to give Alabama's offensive coordinator credit because he found the ways to get the ball into the hands of DeVonta in maybe a little bit different ways than that they had been in the past. And so
there was maybe one,
and then zip right back out, and they hit him in the flat, something short, and he'd get 10, 11, 12 yards. Well,
and I don't recall a pass in which there was real tight coverage. There was 1 or 2 that were okay. That was a circus catch, but mostly he was 6-8 yards ahead of everybody, and he's got that smooth, Tim. He just has that smooth. It's subjective thing, but he does have that.
Yeah, and 20 years ago in the NFL draft, you'd have been nuts to draft the wide receiver in the top even 10 was considered craziness. Now with the way the league is, with the number of times you throw the football, you've got to have a plethora. You got to have a big stable of wide receivers that can stay healthy. So
Mac Jones threw 36 for 45 out of 45 for 464 yards and 5 touchdowns. DeVonta wasn't the only receiver he had.
And he was only the 3rd or 4th best in the Heisman Trophy.
The key is here, though, and I just want to just spend a second on it, is Nick Saban. He won his 7th national championship, 6 at Alabama, 1 at LSU. Now he's kind of gone away from that, and I'm sitting around, how does he do this? Well, he gets all these kids coming back. You're in and you're out. Half that team could have got drafted last year, and they just said, "No, we'll go back and we'll finish the year. We'll get a national championship." And I'm talking now. I mean, Mac, he's got to come and Jones. These guys really do a good job. But you see the size of these linemen? The guy was holding up the trophy, and Nick Saban couldn't have grabbed the trophy. I mean, he was just huge, and they're very, very good.
So that begs the question before we maybe get into some of this other stuff. Chris Goggins in the Minneapolis paper and other places brought up the fact that does college football need to expand the playoff, not to give these other teams a chance, but in order to give these other teams a chance, so a kid feels like, geez, I could go to Minnesota, or I could go to Michigan, or I could go to Tennessee. I could go to Texas A&M. I could go to USC, and I have a chance to get into the playoffs and have a chance.
Yeah, no, they don't. And if you're not in the top 10, I mean, you could pick 10 teams right now that are going to win the national championship over the course of the next, foreseeable years. They're the ones that are going to win it. And so Ohio State and Michigan and you can pick out the schools. But this is getting to be a little bit monotonous. And that's
they said that the TV ratings were the lowest ever in the last 20 years. I don't think people suspected that Ohio State could do much against Alabama. I think if Clemson would have been in there, they might have felt a little more whatever about this. I'm surprised. I texted Uncle Paul during the first quarter to give him an update, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot the game was on tonight, or that they were playing the game in it," because he doesn't have cable TV, and so he didn't remember even that the game was being played. So how does college football fix this? And of course, we talked about baseball and basketball and all these other sports, and they've got these big fields, and a lot of teams have a chance to get in and have a chance to play and get a chance to win a national championship, even though maybe in men's basketball, maybe there's only a few, but teams have a chance to get into the tourney and have their dream of playing in the big dance can happen. Football, you've only got 4 teams. And so I think sooner rather than later, we're going to see 8 teams.
Let me just toss a statistic at you.
Okay.
Right now,
I like stats. I like them.
Right now, Nick Saban has more championships than the other 129 active big-time football college coaches combined, Tim. He's got more than all the other coaches in college football combined. Now, that is kind of a pinnacle of power that everybody seems to want to go to. And if you had your choice about, some of these kids, they come up, hey, I want to, and I've heard this from coaches, I want to play professional football. Well, where are you going to go? And they'll say, well, I don't want to go to Minnesota. In the case of one guy, he went to Arkansas. They want to go somewhere where they can span into professional football. Nobody can do that better than Nick Saban.
I think you get yourself put on a national stage all the time. You also get to practice against quality kids every day. And so you have a tendency to either get better or you get washed out and you end up going someplace else. So
it doesn't take long to figure out which one it is either.
I think we talked about this last week about going to an 18 playoff. I think we're going to see it, like I said, sooner rather than later. What about Najee Harris?
He had a good game. They were playing to the wide sides all the time. And so, he really never got into the game. I don't know how many yards did he wind up getting.
I don't have an exact number, but it was interesting that Kirk Herbstreit kept bringing up Ohio State's playing a 4-4. He must have said that 8 times. Ohio State's playing. Can you believe they're still playing a 4-4? Well, okay, why did they have to play a 4-4? Because they knew that if they didn't have 8 guys in the box, that Alabama was just going to push them out of the way because they didn't have the guys to do that. So what did that do? Well, that opened everything up for Devontae. He was singled up on the outside. And so, you had to pick your poison. Did you want to lose big by getting big plays, or did you want to lose by being pushed around and getting beat up?
I had no problem. I had no problem with their defensive set.
No, and I'm not saying that. But you don't see a college football team. College football teams don't play 4-4. I'm sorry.
They don't.
They play 4-2. They might play 4-3, but they definitely don't play 4-4. And high school teams all over the place playing 4-4, but you are not going to see many college teams that are playing against in major college football. You might see a team against Army play a 4-4 or whatever, but you're not going to see this at this level. And so,
and also I did see those linebackers with outside coverage quite a bit, and depending on what their receivers did, but a lot of them came back to the angle. It was the 2 front ones that was doing all the tackling that they could get into. line for Alabama was just incredible. They really played.
They are. I do want to say that Justin Fields, despite his injury, and it was there. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
He did some things on Monday night because, of course, I had bashed him here over the last couple of weeks. He did a great job of looking the defense off and throwing to a guy someplace else. He also did a very good job of working through, and they use this term way too many times on Monday night, working through their progression. But he was going from receiver to receiver to receiver, and so did Mac. No doubt about both quarterbacks were very good. But Justin Fields did a better job than I probably gave him credit for over the last couple of weeks. So I want to say that, Justin, you did all right. I still don't think that, well, he might be able to make it at the next level. But I don't know if he's some people got him in the top 10, and I think that would be extending things a little bit too far. So.
No, I want to get into quarterbacks just a little bit.
Sure.
A little bit later when we get in the NFL, but I'll tell you, Justin Fields, he has excellent feet, and he has that triple option type thing. So he can get out of trouble. He can get out of trouble a lot. But I'm not so sure that he has the arm strength to play at the pro level. And but
although when he threw that 60-yard bomb when he was hurt 2 games ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying 60 yards is great because, Rodgers and some of these NFL quarterbacks throw it probably 70 plus, but
and they hit the target though.
Rodgers is pretty good at that. So.
Oh boy, he really is.
Hey, how much did losing Trey Sermon on the first play of the game hurt Ohio State?
It was devastating. He's been having a really fine season, and in the beginning of the season, and I looked it up, one of his old rosters, he wasn't even near anywhere. So he's a young kid. He came in, filled the hole, and so I was real disappointed because he's had some great games last 2 or 3 games. So
I think their other running backs came in and filled in nicely, but
I think they did.
So anyway,
it's like anything. Both these teams. I mean, last year Alabama's quarterback was tall, and he was absolutely the best thing, and he went on, and what do? They scoop up this other guy, Mac Jones. I don't know, what do they have? They got a whole bunch of these just hanging
sure they got a whole bunch of them, because everybody's figuring, well, if I step in there and I got to compete, it's scary stuff.
Well, whatever it is, I have a lot of respect for Nick Saban. I think he is really a fine coach, and I think he always tries to do the right thing. And I would sure hate to be, although I understand he's got an offensive coordinator that's beyond reproach, but to go against him on the sidelines, you really better be ready to go.
He's gonna be 70 years old next year. How much longer does he want to do this?
I'm 72. I'm feeling fine too. He's gonna go for a while. He's looking for that 7th title from Alabama, and and as good as Alabama is, they just don't give them to these guys, and they have to, they kind of have to go back in and year out. But last year he was going to lose all these guys, and they came back to be with the coach. That's a deal.
Yeah, they not winning it last year. That kind of fed the frenzy a little bit. Let's move on to the NFL.
We can, yes.
Let's talk NFC first.
Yes.
So New Orleans over Chicago. How much of it did you watch?
I tried to get 3/4 of it in.
I would say that I watched about 7 plays.
There's the Saints have a football player that I like watching. That's Ed Hill.
Yeah.
He's just big, strong. If in another country he would have been a rugby player, I'm sure. But it's like he has no specific skills. He just likes to go out there and bang people, and he's very, very good at that. So I was watching to see if they were gonna, how they were gonna run him and wildcat him and do all the rest of that stuff. So that's primarily why I watched. But the Bears just really couldn't go with them, and I'm not sure how far how far the Saints are going to go anyway.
I think Chicago's got a pretty good defense, and I think that was the one thing that they could hang on. Their offense is horrendous. As good as their defense is, their offense is that bad. So,
well, speaking of their offense, what do you think they're going to do with their quarterback? Okay, we won't go there.
That's a anyway. Great. Hey, if I'll tell you what, if I had that, I'd probably be making $1 million as the GM of the Chicago Bears. Trubisky is not the answer. They brought Foles in. I thought he might be the answer, but boy, I'll tell you, Chicago's gone through their whatever of not having that stellar quarterback. Even Jim McMahon, who as good as fun as he was to have around, I don't know if he was a great quarterback, but he had great people around him. So
he did. He had the refrigerator.
Speaking of quarterbacks, how about Jared Goff coming in with the surgically repaired?
I'm just about talking to him. I just want to mention some names. I want to mention Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and your good friend Baker Mayfield. And the team that I'm pulling for the upset on this one is Jared Goff. They are playing very, very well. And
defense is very good.
And Eric Donald, if he comes back in, he got hurt, and you could see the foam coming out of him, like he couldn't play, and he did not like it. No. But if he's back, the defense is the chintziest defense in the league. And they start coming and crashing. I got a feeling that
the Rams had to go into Seattle and win, and without the crowd there, that definitely made a big difference.
It did.
But give them credit. Tampa Bay over Washington. I think I watched fewer plays of that game than I did of the New Orleans. Saturday night was just. I was watching UMD hockey, and the Tampa Bay. We knew where that was going. Tampa Bay was going to win that game. Although, surprisingly, in the fourth quarter or near the end of the third quarter, yes. It was like 18-10, and I'm like, okay, Tampa, what are you trying to do here? But they got the job done.
I'll tell you, Washington's got a nice young defense. They got Mr. Chase over there running around and raising Kane.
I didn't realize that they drafted a defensive lineman in the first round 4 years in a row. I hadn't realized that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I did see enough to see that they announced that. So
no, but those guys are going to do. But now the reason I read all those other quarterbacks,
all these Hall of Famers.
Yes, they could all ride the same bus, Tim. And the fact of it is that they asked Nick Saban, what's the secret? And he says, good defense does not beat good offense anymore. Well, I tell you, in the NFL, it is all quarterback centered, and these are the guys that are left to play. And every one of them, with any possible exception that you might come up with, is really, really a talented quarterback. And so, all these teams are centered around that guy, except for the LA Rams, because their quarterback's all busted up, and the other one, oh man, I mean, he had never played before, Tim, and he took a hit, and it's almost like in Longest Yard, he broke his neck, and I mean, they had to haul him off.
You're not going to say the other word? Come on.
No, I'm not going to say the other word. There's kids out there watching.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so
just and he goes in and he threw some passes with that hand.
Yeah, he did. So the Rams go into Green Bay on the weekend.
Yes,
Rams got a chance.
Yes, I do. That's why I've just been talking about. They got a good defense, and they've got.
They got a chance. Can they shut the MVP down?
Hey, listen, the MVP is fantastic. He's even going to be on Jeopardy.
I heard about that.
Question. He's going to be a guest star on Jeopardy. But in order to be a great quarterback, Tim, you have to have an insurance advertisement. You've got to get a good insurance company to pay you for that insurance. And Rodgers and Mahomes and all the rest of these guys, they do really well in that insurance thing. So I love these guys. I really do.
So who are you picking? Green Bay or the Rams? Oh, come on, George. You got to pick.
Okay, I'll pick the Green Bay, and they're going to go by 3.
Right. New Orleans, Tampa. Tampa goes into New Orleans.
I think Tampa's going to upset them.
You think so?
I do.
Because?
I'm upset.
Because why? Of what reason?
Because Big Gronk and Tom Brady are going to will it that way.
I'm saying it's going to be the Tampa Bay defense.
And that Tampa Bay defense, and they are playing very, very well. That Mr. Winfield from the University of Minnesota, and
you might see overtime in this game. I think it's that close. So it's going to come down to those 1 or 2 plays that somebody's going to make, and I don't even have any idea what the odds are, but I would guess that people are betting their brains out on this game because they want a piece of this action just because it's Breeze versus Brady.
When they got rid of Tom Brady last year and he went to Tampa Bay, okay, is he going to be able to go down there and do whatever Tom Brady does? Yes, he can.
That's because he got a whole bunch of players to come play with him, though. He just didn't do it by himself.
I understand that. They followed him. But success has a tendency to do that. That's going to be at 5:40 on Sunday, Tim.
That's the late game, huh?
That's the late game on Sunday.
I don't know how the NFL figured out that was the game that they needed to have there, but they did, right?
They did.
Let's talk AFC. Let's talk Buffalo over Indy.
Well, again, first off, we got to talk about Buffalo over Indy. Hey, that's just going to happen. That doesn't surprise me. India.
Everybody 2 years ago, I'm just going to say, everybody was busting Josh Allen. Oh my gosh, the Buffalo Bills, they screwed up again, blah, blah. You can't do this, you can't do that. And now they bring in Stephon Diggs, who, whatever, big brother, little brother, whatever you guys want to talk about him with. And all of a sudden now he's a superstar. Oh my, seriously, I got onto Twitter on Saturday, and I don't remember the 2 guys, Ian something and whoever was the color guy. And if they weren't pulling for the Buffalo Bills, I don't know who was, but they were on there was a guy on Twitter, and he said, man, these 2 guys are the best to listen to. They work so well together. And I finally just had to say, yeah, and if they weren't cheering for Buffalo, I could stand it. But my goodness, every time Buffalo farted, oh my gosh, what a great play. And then Indy would do the same thing 5 plays later and be like, oh, wow, there's a nice play by Indy. And I'm just like, oh my God. Anyway, congratulations to Buffalo.
Yeah, no, Indianapolis is one of my favorite teams. I like Phil Rivers. They have a really good, solid defensive line, which is always fun to watch. But it was just kind of going to happen. And I'll tell you the other thing about Josh. He's one of the most popular guys in Buffalo. No, I don't know. I mean, what do you say? I'm the most popular guy in Buffalo, whoopee. But the working class and the Buffalo Bills stands. They think Josh Allen is a guy off the street. And one of the most popular guys in Buffalo. I can't even say that about International Falls.
I think we were saying the same thing about Carson Wentz about 2 or 3 years ago. And now he's going to get kicked to the curb or wants to be kicked to the curb out of Philly. So that's another discussion for another.
Well, and they always said that, Julius Caesar was glory is always fleeting, and especially in professional football. I mean, one day the chicken, the next day the feathers. That's the way that one works.
That's right.
I didn't just make that up.
So did Cleveland win or did Pittsburgh lose it?
Well, that's a very good question. Pittsburgh, the latter half of the year just kind of fell apart, didn't they?
How can you go 11-0?
I don't know.
They're talking Miami's going to have to keep those bottles of champagne closed up, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they absolutely fell apart. And for my brother and my best friend from high school, boys, I'm really sorry that Pittsburgh had to lose. And it even hurts even worse for you guys to know that I was probably cheering for Pittsburgh. But by the time I turned the TV on to see what was happening, it was already 21-0. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? It just, my. So anyway.
Oh no, which ones do we have left? Here I have
Baltimore and Tennessee left to talk
Baltimore
about.
And Tennessee. No, I tell you,
I told you it was going to be the game of the weekend.
No, this is when I started looking at all those quarterbacks, and I says, what is Tennessee lacking? Now, Tannehill would hit me in the head with his shoe, but he he doesn't. He's not riding the Hall of Fame bus like the rest of those guys are. And he does have that incredible fullback, and they picked on him. He only got 80 yards, if that many, and they were all over him like ugly on an ape. And I don't feel bad for the ape, but they really covered Derrick Henry, and after you shut him down, they have to have another place to go, and Tennessee.
Well, and here's the thing about a 2,000-yard rusher. You know, going into that game, what do you got to do? You got to stop Derrick Henry. What did Baltimore do? They came in with a game plan to stop him, and they did it.
Yes, they did.
The indelible image I will have out of that game, and again, I didn't watch a lot of it, but I watched a good share of it, is the touchdown run that Lamar Jackson had, where he ran about 45 yards to the right on our screen, and he got through the hole, and he got about 10 or 12 yards past the line of scrimmage, and it was like you know how in the video games you get that little turbo button you can hit like one time during the whole thing? It looked like he hit the turbo button, and he was gone, and I was just like, Eli was upstairs, and I yelled at the TV, "Where did he find that gear?" And he comes running downstairs. He's like, "Who found what gear? What are you talking about?" And I'm like, this guy on TV, I don't know how he did it. That's not human to be able to find that extra gear with a football in your hand, but he did it. It was wow.
No, he is a multitask quarterback, and he can do it a lot, and he's got just excellent feet and excellent speed. I'd be nervous every time I give him the football to carry, but he's really nice to have once in a while. That's that running back, especially, if you have somebody who can do some blocking, and there's a lot of good blockers on that team.
Cleveland at Kansas City. Do you give your Browns any chance?
Well,
I know they're not your Browns. I just throw it out there because you're defending Baker Mayfield. I can feel it. You've got it, Baker. You're trying to take the opposite side of me. So.
Well, I'm just, you've always had a thing about Baker, and face it, Tim, he's got a great commercial. Again, great quarterbacks have great commercials, and so he runs his commercial, and also he's got a nice quick release. He actually reminds me a little bit of Drew Brees, and he's about the same size, and he's sneaky back there. And so I kind of like that, and he does seem like he's having a good time playing the game, which is just fine.
Well, when you're winning, yes. Last year, I wouldn't say he was having that much fun when things were going HS.
Well, it should have been. He still had a great commercial.
He still has a great commercial. I give them no chance to win in Kansas City. One in 20.
No,
because Kansas City's not going to give them 5 turnovers in the first half or whatever.
And unless somebody finds a way to control those wide receivers, anchors or something like that, they're just
lassos.
The beat lassos, whatever it is, and I would like to see a statistic on how many times wide receivers were held on pass plays, because it'd be the first thing I'd go for. Just give them just to get them that. Of course, they could give them half a step and they'd be gone before.
That's true. That's true.
People don't realize how incredibly fast these men are, and
I think it's more how quick.
Yes.
They are, how fast they get from 0 to top speed.
Oh,
that's the thing that scares me.
They really do just fly.
Baltimore at Buffalo, game of the weekend. I believe if I would have been NBC, I know you got to put the Hall of Famers on Sunday night, but if I were the NFL, I would have put Buffalo and Baltimore on. I think it's going to be the game of the weekend. Even though I said New Orleans and Tampa could go to overtime, I think this Buffalo-Baltimore game is going to be one for the ages.
Okay, and that's 7:15 on Saturday, the Baltimore-Buffalo game, and the Cleveland.
I'll get home from my work to be able to watch it. That's good. Oh, he's wondering
what a game, huh?
Well, we got a hockey game on the radio on TV on Saturday afternoon. So some people got to work for a living,
Yeah, I feel bad about that.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
Cleveland and Kansas City, they're 2:05 on Sunday, Tim.
Yeah.
So you can watch the game and still make it for dinner. Everybody
there you go.
That. And then the next week the NFC title game is at Sunday at 2:00, and you can pick your teams. And the AFC title game is on Sunday at 5:40, and then on the 7th of February is the Super Bowl in Tampa, and that will be shown at 5:30 in the evening as usual.
Are you taking Buffalo or Baltimore? Are you taking Lamar or are you taking Josh Allen? Who are you picking?
I've got to go with Lamar.
Really? On the road?
Yeah, Baltimore, I've been watching them real close, and they were another one of my favorite teams. They come up, they have good speed, and they have they play good solid defense. They're kind of a team of destiny right now, and I don't know as I can say that about Buffalo yet, but I'll tell you, Buffalo's played really well this year. They deserve where they're at. They really do.
Absolutely. Baltimore was the best team in the AFC last year, even better than Kansas City, who won the Super Bowl. That's my opinion.
Yeah, they beat Kansas City. Yeah.
When they lost in the first round, when they lost to Tennessee last year in their first game, that set the tone. I agree with you. I think Baltimore wins in Buffalo very, very close, though. I thought you might, after you gave Josh Allen all those props, I thought you were going to go with Buffalo.
Well, no, I just kind of read a story, and they were talking about on the sports talk shows and stuff down there. People are calling in. They're real fans. Well, of course, it's been how many decades since Buffalo has been in the playoffs, and
long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So hey, I'm you know me, I'm an optimist. I'm always pulling for the young guys. Let's see just where he goes with this. But hey, there's going to be good football this weekend, Tim. I will be watching them all.
Let's move on to basketball. Let's start in the NBA, and I'm probably going to start with something that just broke just before we start recording this show. Mr. Harden, James is being traded. He finally went over the line last night with his comments, and Houston is trading him to Brooklyn, which I started going, wait a minute now. Brooklyn's already got Irving and Durant. Well, of course, Irving's got himself into a pickle because he was at a birthday party without a mask on. And he's been kind of giving everybody the screw you thing and jobbers and whatever else. So now that the Nets have James Harden, that means Kyrie Irving's got to be going out the door because there's no way those two guys are going to be able to live on the same team. Is there?
No, and Brooklyn's a strange team anyway. They got a strange owner with a strange group, and they're in Brooklyn. It's it's bound to be.
With Durant and Irving and or Harden, they're one of the teams to be reckoned with in the East. But
Houston, it's taken them a long time to get there.
Houston is going to get 4 first-round picks plus. So Cleveland is also involved with this. It was kind of evolving. Pieces were coming out, and so before we started the show, I didn't have a chance to get it all written down. But that's the big news out of the NBA. The second big piece of news out of the NBA is COVID and how many issues they are having with teams not having enough. I feel bad for, was it Philly who had to play the other day?
Yeah.
With basically their entire team out for COVID reasons. And then all of a sudden now the NBA has decided that they can start postponing games. And I'm like, well, how come Philly? It goes back to this NFL thing with Denver 2 months ago when they decided Denver could play without any of their quarterbacks. And I'm just like,
oh, that was bad.
I'm like, where anyway, that's another, but
no. And I think the hockey league's going to have this issue too. This, the primary enemy of hockey is also COVID.
Absolutely. And the NFL has had their issues as well. It just seems that, with hockey, you've got more people, but they just seem to be more even. Anyway, it's something that, it's going to be contending with. Hey, the T-Wolves broke a 7-game losing streak.
They did. Thank goodness for San Antonio. I think, have they beat them twice this year?
No, they split over the weekend. They played back-to-back nights and they split.
Okay. So. But Carl Anthony's back in town.
And the scary part was he came back, and we lost the game where he played, and we won the game where he didn't. Now, that doesn't make sense.
We'll figure that one out.
So the Wolves are 3-7.
They're 3-7.
If you told me they were going to be 3-7 the first 10 games, I probably would have said no way. But I look at their schedule and go, well, they played Denver and LA and they played
Clippers
Utah and so they played some good teams. They played some really bad teams as well. So 3-7 is a little bit of a disappointment. They get Memphis tonight. This is Wednesday when we record this, so
yeah,
I don't know what they are the worst defensive team in the league. Not even close to the second place worst team. They are bad. And if you're going to be bad defensively, you better be doggone good offensively.
And they're not that good offensively.
And we're not that good offensively. So Saunders has got to get his act together. He's going to have to figure out how to get these boys to play together and start doing things together. They got to start taking, I think, some better shots. Although I know 3-pointers or layups. We talk about this. We don't want any of that mid-range stuff, but we're taking some threes that I don't quite understand. And, of course, when we talk about the Gopher men's basketball team in a minute or two, we're going to end up talking about that as well, that we don't shoot the three very well, but we just keep firing them up, and we don't take any away. So, anyway, hopefully the T-Wolves will come around. I'll tell you, Michigan, college basketball. How good is Michigan?
I'm not sure.
Minnesota. They whooped Wisconsin.
They just took them apart. It wasn't even close, and you take a look and see where they're going. But let me see where my notes are. In fact, I really couldn't watch any more politics today, so I switched over and I was able to watch the Wisconsin-Michigan game played from last night, or from this whenever it was.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, Michigan just took them apart. And I'm not sure just how good they're going to be, but if they
we're gonna find out, because they got to come to the barn on Saturday, right?
That's
and
all they got to do.
Gophers play like UCLA in the barn. They do. They whatever. So if we're gonna find out,
it's hard to win a game away in the Big Ten.
Why?
I don't know.
There's no fans. Nobody's jeering you. No whatever. It's a big empty space. All you're doing is out there shooting. It's the same either place. I don't understand.
I really don't understand either.
You get to shoot at Williams Arena pretty much every day. You don't get to go shoot every day at Chrysler. I get there's a little bit different, but that basket, Hoosiers, still 10 feet. The 3-point line is the same distance away. You just got to go out there and shoot it. So.
What was that? What coach did that? He measured in a gym they weren't supposed to win and measured the rim?
Yeah, that was in Hoosiers, the movie Hoosiers,
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm hopeful for the Gophers on Saturday, but I'm really wondering how good Michigan is.
Well, I think they might be really good, and I took a look and I thought, geez, Hunter Dickinson, he wasn't mentioned in the thing, and I looked down. He got 14 points and 8 rebounds and did a whole bunch of other stuff. He just wasn't in the top 3 of their starters. Everyone's in double figures, and they get good help from 4 or 5 people off the bench. And so they've got good size. The Smith kid really handles the ball well. We're going to see just how good they are, but Michigan's the only team to beat 3 top-ranked teams nationally. And, although I'm not sure Duke was that much of a thing. I mean, Duke's rated 21st in the nation, and I haven't seen them win yet.
And they probably are going to they'll probably shut the program down if things don't turn around pretty soon and blame it on COVID.
Well, that's one of the things they could do, yeah.
That's one of the things they could do. Are we done with basketball, or we got more to discuss?
Let me just see here. But I want to talk about Michigan just for a second.
Sure.
They at one time were ahead of Wisconsin by 40 points, and at one time between the two halves, they outscored Wisconsin 43-6. And Wisconsin's not that bad a team.
How many timeouts did Wisconsin use? Because that's one of the things when you get runs, you got to use your timeouts. Man, that's crazy, 43-6.
Well, and also, like you talk about the Gophers, they live and die by the 3. when they beat, when I called it our Christmas gift, and they had 17 of 43. That was the most 3-point shots ever done by a Gopher team, ever taken by a Gopher team, and they hit all kinds of them, and squeaked out the win over Iowa. And they didn't squeak nothing the other night. They got their butts kicked, and they did the same way with Michigan. And unless they can start hitting from the outside a little bit, I'm afraid that might happen again.
It's very possible.
Yeah,
very possible.
Yes.
Are we done with basketball?
We can go on, yeah.
Let's talk a little hockey.
Yes.
Wild gets started on Thursday night. NHL didn't do many favors, said, hey, by the way, you can start your season on the road out on the West Coast for 4 games. You can stay out there for a week. Come on, man. You can't do anyway. So they get to play LA Kings twice. So they play Thursday and Saturday. And then they are at Anaheim on Monday and Wednesday. And then they get to come home and they get to basically see those same teams all over again, because they're only going to play 7 different teams, and they're going to play in each 8 times for their 56-game schedule. So that makes for some interesting college-like hockey where you play a weekend series type of thing where you're playing these teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how testy, I think is the word I'm looking for, things get in game 2 when you're playing in these back-to-back games. Somebody wrongs somebody in game 1, and then, well, we've got 2 days to think about it. Now, how are we going to get that guy back? Who's going to give him the knee, and who's going to fight him, and who's going to drop the gloves? And so we're going to probably see a little bit more of that. I wouldn't be surprised. But I looked in the Minneapolis paper, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, they had the NHL power rankings, and they had Minnesota at 22, and I thought, that sounds about right. About right.
Well, and on top of that, people are saying, it's the beginning of the year, and they're taking a look and thinking, maybe they did make the proper changes. Maybe they do have better goaltending. Maybe. It seemed like there were times that the Wild was just on the edge of really doing well,
and on the edge of doing really bad. And that's the problem. That's why we
fall all apart.
That's why some people think that they should have bottomed out last year and got a higher pick. Not that Rossi's going to be bad, but that they could have gotten a higher end player than what they got. But we'll see where they end up. One of the things that I saw on Twitter here last week, they did 100,000 simulations of the NHL season.
Oh, wow.
Whatever that means, they got a computer that does this. And they had the Wild ending up being in the playoffs. And I'm kind of like, wow.
They made enough changes that they maybe changed the team.
Yeah, you don't know. And then they went and signed Foligno yesterday to a 3-year contract. Apparently, Guerin likes him. They get along very well. So, he got him for 3 years for $9 million. I didn't think that was too shabby.
No.
So, yeah. So the NHL starts today. It's Wednesday. Matter of fact, it's 4:45 just about. And I think if I get home by 5 o'clock, I think the first hockey game is on at 5 o'clock. They've got a triple header on NBC Sports. And so they'll have that on this evening. And then, of course, the Wild playing out on the West Coast. I think they play at 9. I think they play an afternoon or an evening game on Saturday. And then Monday, Wednesday are back at 9 or 9:30. So set your alarm clocks accordingly. Jeez, it'll be a long week there. So you mentioned when you saw my shirt here earlier today, you talked about how St. Cloud State, my alma mater, took down my UMD hockey team last week at Amsoil Arena, which was a little bit disappointing that St. Cloud State got 5 out of 6 points out of the Dogs. What did I see? In the last 7 games, UMD is 1-5-1, and they've scored 12 goals total.
Oh, boy.
In 7 games, they've scored 12 goals.
And the college game these days, hey, 10, 12, 15 goals a game is not beyond the description.
You're not going to win
do it by scoring 2.
As good as UMD's defense has been. They aren't that good, and to think you're gonna win games by scoring 1.5 goals per game just isn't going to happen. Although Saturday's game went to overtime tied at 0, which, holy smokes, you hardly ever see that. But St. Cloud State's got some good kids. They got a couple of Finns on their team that they picked up, and they're pretty good players. And UMD found out today that their weekend series that was supposed to be played in Miami is a no-go. UMD's got COVID issues, so their weekend series at Miami is canceled, postponed for a couple of weeks. So who knows? Maybe they were dealing with maybe some of that. Maybe their legs were a little sapped because of kids were getting sick or whatever. So, and the scary part is the Gophers, after I must have jinxed them last week.
You did. You jinxed them.
They lost to Wisconsin and then beat them on. And then somehow they lose, but they keep their number 1 ranking.
Well, they split, and so, the Gophers there.
Money? Come on. Everybody else loses if they're number 1. Boom. They're right out of the number 1 spot. No matter who you are, you're out. North Dakota's out. Boston, you're out. Everybody's out. You're number 1, you lose, you're out. Not Minnesota. Come on. Okay, I just got to bust the Gophers because that means they'll lose again this weekend.
I tell you what, it's amazing because we talk about the Minnesota Gophers, and I know you're a Gopher fan. You went to school, you're part of the football program, but you're a Bulldog fan, and for that, the Gophers kind of become rodent-like.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love Gophers everything except for men's hockey.
Except for men's hockey.
And maybe women's hockey I'd put on the side because I'd cheer for UMB there as well. But everything else, I would be a Gopher fan through and through. So I suppose we should talk high school sports here.
Well, we should a little bit. I can talk a little bit. I've even got, if you can believe this, some news and information about the great sport of high school wrestling.
Wow. That was if you're talking about the article in the Minneapolis paper today, that was pretty.
What, an article? Yeah, wow. What can I do?
I don't believe how many times he said he's done, his season's over, whatever, and he comes back. I do not believe that this kid is not going to wrestle at college. After reading the article, he is going to wrestle in college somewhere, especially if he wins his 5th state championship.
Well, that's right, and you, but I mean, I saw a guy one time going after his 5th state championship, and he lost. He lost 5-4, and the kid was from Apple Valley, and I won't bring up names. He shook hands, patted the guy on the shoulder. There was no whining, there was no complaining, there was no making of excuses. He later went on to become a national champion at Wisconsin. But this, you see these champions that win 4 or 5 times, they just don't get there by accident. They generally have a whole lot of style, and when you see these guys, you just think it took a long time for him to get there, just as long as any hockey or basketball player, maybe even more. And what I'm taking a look at is Simley has 2 national ranked champions, one at 195 pounds and the other one at 220. And these are, one's ranked 7th in the nation, the other one's ranked 5th. Now, when you have finishers like that in your high school team, you become a pretty dangerous person and a team. And Simley right now is rated number 1 in Class 2A. They're just, Simley's a great wrestling school, always had been a great wrestling school. I believe that's where Short is the coach, and these guys really, they know what they're doing. So Stillwater and Shakopee are 1, 2, and 3A. Simley and Mantorville is number 2, and in Class Single A, Long Prairie, Gray Eagle, and Atwater, Cosmos, Grove City.
Good old ACGC.
ACGC. Yeah. I've been to Cosmos. I've went to a wedding there once. It's a great place.
Those small towns, they're all pretty great. And
they are. They really are. Yeah, this is just like going back into a movie set.
So the Broncos get started on Friday.
And who are they playing?
Winter sports. And so boys basketball at home, new head coach Donnie Rolando. on the bench, along with assistant Charlie Anderson. No JV game on Friday night. Mesabi East doesn't have enough kids to have a JV team.
Ooh.
They had a bunch of kids that didn't come out due to COVID, and they didn't come out. So the varsity game at 7:15, you can hear that game on KSDM, and you can watch it on yourliveevent.com. So you can keep track with that. Girls hockey also opens at home on Friday night. Michelle McDonald, the head coach there in her third season. And we'll have that game on KGHS, 12:30 a.m., 95.3 FM. And I will be on the call. So happy to be back doing that. Busy week coming up. Then Saturday afternoon, the Bronco boys hockey team at home against Kitson County Central, 3 o'clock. We'll have that game for you on K104 and yourliveevent.com. Again, a 3 o'clock game. Pre-game for hockey games and basketball games 30 minutes before tips. So obviously with a hockey game, that means we'll be, for the girls game, we'll be on at 6:30 because that's a 7 o'clock game because there's no JV game and it's North Shore. So we'll get things underway. Girls basketball with head coach Jay Boyle in his 5th season. They're at home on Monday night. And I forgot to write it down, so I'm going to have to look it up on my phone here, folks. Sorry. Quick. They are at Northwoods. Oh, yeah. That game will also be on the radio. And so they'll get things started. And then the swimmers get things started a little bit later in the week, and it's going to be busy. I think I told you this last week. I've got a game on Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I got 5 games in 8 days to get things underway. People are not going to be allowed in. The casual fan is not going to be allowed in to watch hockey or basketball or swimming. So you're going to want to be watching yourliveevent.com or listening on the radio. These are going to be the ways to see what the kids are doing or hear what the kids are doing. So make sure that you get out there and get your computers warmed up, get your radios warmed up. And we're going to have lots of doubleheader nights at the radio station. Friday's the first one where you'll have hockey and basketball on. It's going to happen a lot. So people are going to have their choice to pick. And, of course, the Wild will be on the radio station. So a lot of nights when there's a high school game on one, the Wild will be on the other. So it's going to be very busy. I hope people are going to take advantage of what the radio station is offering as far as video serving. And I was just out in the hallway at the end of school, and they were talking about how every varsity and JV basketball game, if it's not on the radio, will be available on the school YouTube channel. So if the radio station is not doing a home Bronco game, that could be on the air. So there might be nights when you could watch like 3 Bronco teams or listen to 3 Bronco teams. And, of course, a lot of these other schools, I know Evelyn Gilbert is going to have every game, every home hockey game for them is going to be available online. So if your favorite Bronco team is out of town and the radio station is not covering them, I'll bet someplace, somehow, some way that game might be on the internet someplace. And I will do my best for everybody through the Bronco Facebook page to try to let everybody know what web address, URL that they can go to, click on, so that they can watch their favorite Bronco team and see what's going on.
I am really getting excited. It's time for Bronco sports to start again. And, it's been a long time. It's been a couple months since we've seen the Broncos. And so, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. We'll be watching and critiquing, of course.
And, of course, all the kids are supposed to be wearing this while they play. So that's going to be even making more interesting. And the announcers have to wear these as well. So it's going to be very interesting to find out how wearing a mask while announcing is going to be, because I suspect it's going to be a little more difficult, especially in the arena where it's cold and that warm air is coming up into the glasses.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find some way to take care of that. So how about old bits? Anybody?
No, I really didn't, but I had a couple of other notes. We got a young man from Dawson Garcia from Prior Lake. He's making his freshman season, and he is playing for Marquette. And he drilled 20 points against Providence the other night, and led the team in scoring. So we have another Minnesota boy doing really well.
For Minnesota, yeah.
What?
For not playing for Minnesota.
For not playing for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And but that was one I knew that we like to keep track of what's going on with Minnesota people. But no, I know that there's probably a couple of obits down there that I passed, but
no, I think it was a pretty quiet week on the obit.
I think it was too.
Thankfully, geez, Louise. So.
Yes. No, I know. Hey, there's going to be good football games this week. I have the fortunate chore of going down and picking up my kid's hound dog tomorrow, so it gives me something to do on Thursdays. But no, there's going to be good football this week, and we'll bring this football season to the end. And as soon as football is over, then you have a little bit more time to concentrate in basketball and hockey and the rest of these sports. Football, face it, as Stuart Nordquist told me, it's an addiction and you're an addict. So maybe that's true.
I can't wait till he sees you say that so he can call you up and say, come on, George. Anyway.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think that is. You got anything else?
I'm all tapped out. We got about 50 good minutes. We finally went under an hour. Wow.
That's all right.
That's perfect. That makes for better TV for Darcy. She doesn't even want us.
It does.
I don't think she wants us going over an hour.
And Darcy, give us a thing. Our long running sports show, long running. So we are now becoming, veterans of this.
There we go.
60, 70 shows that we've done now. I know.
Yeah, we're probably in that 60 range. Yep, 60, 70.
Yeah. Well,
scary stuff.
Yeah.
All right, George. Enjoy the football
Wednesday.
this weekend. Everybody else enjoy the football and everything else that's going on. Go Broncos. And we'll talk to you next week.
Take care.